all good.
Well, it's nice to like meet you,
Yeah.
and virtually, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of.
How did you find me? Just like through Instagram?
Yeah. So I was looking up like different fitness podcasts on Instagram and stuff because it's hard to kind of really search them out on
Yeah.
different platforms because it's like, only the super popular ones usually come up.
Mhm.
So I think Instagram's kind of a good way to just find different things.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it was just good to see somebody else out there kind of doing the same thing a little bit.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
It's been about a year. I think last May, April or May I started up. When did you start?
Last June. So about the same time as you.
Yeah. And it was
That's
cool
awesome.
because, I started up, but I really only put out like one episode for the first like 4 or 5 weeks and just kind of sat there for a while and it stayed kind of relevant a little bit, I guess, maybe just because I was posting about it, but it got, some decent views on it. And I was just like, if I don't keep going with this, it's just kind of going to be something that kind of fizzles out. So I started to pick up on it.
Nice. What made you want to start a podcast?
Really, I was just bored and, quarantine just started kind of. So
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't been outside in like a couple weeks or months now. I can't even remember like the last time I did anything and
Yeah.
hadn't talked to anybody really like,
Yeah.
physically, which doing a podcast, you're not really talking to anybody either, but it's just more of like just getting your thoughts out there, I think.
Yeah, totally. So I work for Anytime Fitness, and so the yearly conference was in Kentucky, was in Louisville.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but yeah. So
Well, if
that's
you're from here, it's like Louisville.
yes,
That's
that's
how
I remember them telling us that.
there's a million ways to pronounce it though.
Yeah, yeah, Louisville. Yeah, so I've been there once, but yeah,
Even people like just south of here, like 30 miles south, even that close, it's still just pronounced so many different ways, but
yeah,
it's funny.
yeah. Yeah. Do you what else? So like in Kentucky, is that kind of by North Carolina, South Carolina a little bit?
Yeah, it's like on the
Okay.
on the border of North Carolina. I've never actually been to North Carolina. I've been to like Tennessee and right where it kind of meets, but never North Carolina.
Yeah, I've been to North. I would love to move to North Carolina, South Carolina. Super pretty. I've been there with my grandma, family vacations a little bit, and I love to hike. So, and I love waterfalls. So the area that we stayed, like, there's a ton of waterfalls and hiking, and it's like that's my place. I love it. So I'm in South Dakota, the Midwest, and there's really none of that. I mean, there's a little bit. We have the Black Hills, like where Mount Rushmore is, and there's hiking, but nothing as extravagant as North Carolina, South Carolina.
It's funny because people all the time call where I'm from the Midwest. And like, I don't get that. Like, people say it's the Southeast, say it's the Midwest, say it's the South, say, I guess it just depends, where you are. Depends on your
Yeah.
perspective of wherever other places are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy because to me that's definitely not Midwest at all.
Yeah. It's like Chicago. People call Chicago Midwest. People call Louisville Midwest. It's really weird. To me, like Midwest is like Kansas and like on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
kind
right.
of weird. So why did you start your podcast, by the way?
So I actually wanted to start a podcast. Like I remember the day, like the moment I wanted to start a podcast, I was downstairs in my ex-boyfriend's house, or yeah, like the roommate that I was with or that he was with. And this was probably in 2015, 2014. It was probably like 2013, I want to say. So if, it was a while ago. And at that moment, I was like, I want to start a podcast. It'd be really cool. But I never did it. And like the things that held me back was fear of like what other people would think. And then also the main one was just not knowing how to do it. And I hate trying to figure things out. Like I don't like reading instructions. That's not me. And I just let that hold me back. But like literally every day I was in my head, I was just thinking how I want to start a podcast. I need to start a podcast. So I've always wanted to. And I don't know, I guess my reasoning for just going for it was last year I was like, okay, 2020, I'm just going to do it. I invested in a program that taught me how to do it. The technology, like the tech side of things, the editing, I was like kind of fearing that. And but I was just like, I'm just going to do it. And I just am I love to speak. I love to be on video, like sharing my thoughts. And I just want to be someone who shares my voice and my advice and things like past experiences, things that I've learned, because I know that there's it's like one person. I know there's one person that can relate or that will relate or in the past have related, and they just need whatever it is that I share. So it's kind of been that. And I just decided to do it. And actually, because of COVID, we shut down, like my whole town shut down, our gym shut down. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is perfect timing. Thank you, universe. This is my time to have more time to be able to just do it. So I learned I went through the program that I invested in and put out 3 episodes. I launched in June, and I just wanted to share more, anything, not just health and fitness related, but life too. Just all of the ups and downs, growing through the challenges and all of that. So I love it. It's definitely, and I found that I actually like the editing process, which is, I don't know if you edit or if you outsource it all or if you just kind of put it out there, but I like editing, which it's very time consuming, but I don't know what it is about it, but I like it.
Yeah, I do some editing as far as like the content itself goes. I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I do it. The first episode I don't think I did any editing, and it was okay. I just felt like that one was maybe better off not being edited because it was just like the raw material.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
like the first one, I don't know. But ever since then I've definitely edited, and a lot of times I find myself editing myself out a lot, just to focus more on the guest. And I find myself like, if I go off kind of on a tangent, I'll like take part of it out where it still obviously makes sense to, the listener.
Yeah.
But I find myself doing that. I don't know if you ever do that.
So in the past, so I love listening to podcasts. And so I really wrote down things that I liked and disliked about podcasts. And one thing that I really liked about a certain podcast that I listened to, it's called Almost 30. And when they interview people and the person's talking, they just shut up. Like they don't talk. And I've listened to podcasts before where people say, yep, yep. And I find myself doing that sometimes when the other person's talking, but I don't like the sound of that. So when I have someone talking or someone's on my podcast, my show, I try to do the same thing where I just don't talk. I let them talk. I think it sounds better for the person listening. So I just try and I try and let them talk. And I will always give my feedback or ask a question in response, but I really just try and like keep quiet when they're talking.
Do you find yourself ever like listening to podcasts that you like really like, and then maybe not actually doing it, but thinking about how you like that style and like maybe twisting your style to that style a little bit? Because I find myself doing that a lot.
Yeah. Do you mean like the flow of how I talk, or like how it's a conversation versus or specific things that they do, or what do you mean?
Just like maybe if they, yeah, just like small thing, kind of like the flow, like that kind of thing, or
Yeah,
it's just,
I for sure there's there's a podcast called Mind Pump, and they at the end would say, and with that, they would say, so like how he would end it would be, and with that, and then like an end, a closing. So I found myself, I was like, oh, I really like that, and it's kind of a good flowy way to like. So I started doing that, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think there's been a couple other things too, where it's like a certain word or phrase that I've heard, and I find myself using that.
yeah. I did the exact same thing with the closing from that Jocko podcast. He always says out, and I found myself saying, and I'm out, like just small things like that, which at the time I didn't even think about. It's just like, oh, it's a podcast, so that's kind of how you end it, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think what like things that even just whatever we listen to, people were around. I find that if I'm around someone or I listen to something, if they say a word or a phrase or however they say something long enough, then I start doing it too.
Yeah.
Because we become like the people that we are around.
Yeah, definitely. And when I get into a podcast, I definitely like get all into it. I'll listen to, hours and hours in a day. Just
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's like it's weird because you feel like you almost know that host at some point. It's like
Yeah.
some part of them, them. It's a weird
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because then you like, I don't know if you can, just because you're not related, but like relatable. And I don't know. Yeah. It's like they're your friend, even though they don't know it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
that's how I would love the people who listen to me. I want them to be like, I try and never say you guys or like, I don't know. I try to say you because I'm talking to one person and I want them to feel like I'm speaking to them.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah.
Yeah. It's there's so many aspects that go into it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I love it. And I found that in the beginning, I was like, okay, I need to do it a certain way, or I tried to like research the best way to do it. But I'm learning that it's okay to go off of however else other people are doing it and just to find your own voice, your own way of doing it. And you can really like with titles. In the beginning, I was like, gosh, what how do I need to make them shorter? Do I need to make them longer, more specific? And I'm really finding that I'm just loving being creative with the titles and not worrying about like how other people are doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I took some of the stuff how I do titles from that podcast, and then, but you'll see other podcasts out there that's just like either the name of the guest or the episode number or like a couple words. Yeah, I just think it depends. Like each episode is kind of a little bit different in that way too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, man, podcasting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But if you want to, I mean, I know we're a few minutes in now, but if you want to just introduce yourself and we can jump into a little bit of fitness and health and stuff.
Yeah, so I live in South Dakota. I am a fitness trainer slash manager. So anything the health or the fitness side of things, coaching side of things at Anytime Fitness, I manage that. And I lead a couple other part-time trainers as well. So anything in the fit, like after someone gets a membership, they see me, and my goal is to really nail down why they're there, not just what their goal is of losing weight and having more energy and feeling better. Like those are the main things, but I want to know why. Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to feel better and have more energy? What's going to change in your day-to-day life? And so my job is to really find that and help them with a plan moving forward. And we have training. So whether it's to do training and invest in that, which hopefully that is the route they go, because I truly believe in it and I think it can change their life. And I think that they do need it, especially if there's someone who you're new to exercise, you don't know what you're doing in the gym. You need to have that guidance. You need to invest in that, because otherwise 10 years down the road, you're doing the same exact thing, not knowing what to do, or you're going to quit. But if they choose not to do that, totally fine. But what is your plan? And every 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to meet, make sure that you're using it, make sure that you're still inspired, make sure that you're seeing progress. So that's really, I do a lot at Anytime Fitness, but that's kind of my main role, I guess, there. I love the outdoors. I love hiking. That's probably my favorite thing to do is hiking and doing anything outside, honestly. And yeah, I have a few siblings. I have an identical sister or identical twin sister. And then I have three other siblings, sisters, and split between like my dad, mom, stepdad, stepmom, and then an older stepbrother as well. So yeah, I don't know. And then I just podcast on the side, just kind of a passion project thing, hobby, maybe monetize it someday or make money. I don't know how exactly to do that, but yeah, what else? I think that's kind of it. I keep myself busy but productive, and I love to meditate, and so I'm really more into like the spiritual aspect of health too. And I'm all for mental health as well. That's a piece of health and fitness I think is not talked about enough, and I think maybe it's getting more talked about. But at the gym I work at, I want to also include that and like say, hey, health, fitness, and nutrition is important, but so is your mental health and your mindset. That comes first, actually. And then like
Absolutely.
follow.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The
Mhm.
it's definitely all tied together with mental and physical. What I really think is interesting was when you said you try to stay busy but productive, and then you mentioned meditating. Is that's kind of like two opposite ends of the spectrum? So do you think that the meditation is definitely necessary to have some time for just like digging into yourself a little bit? Because I think, when we stay busy, we oftentimes just work on our work and we forget a little bit about ourselves and not really work on ourselves as much as we work on the work. Do you think that meditation kind of brings you back to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and for me, it's meditation. For someone else, maybe it's going on a walk, or like, I think we do need to have that time to ourselves to really recharge. And for meditating, it's something that brings me back to the present and challenges me to slow the F down because I'm someone who I kind of struggle with, like, I feel like I need to do all the things all the time. Podcast, work, like if I'm not doing something, I feel not productive. And that's an issue. And I know that, I realize that. And so I'm trying to not, I don't want to live the hustle life all the time. And meditation, like I said, challenges me to slow down, brings me back to the present moment. There's also this component of visualization. So visualizing maybe how I want my day to go, my attitude, it brings like just calmness. I'm a much more patient person, and all of that helps me in what I do every day at the gym too.
Yeah, I can definitely see. I'm kind of the same way where I don't specifically enjoy just laying around, sitting around, not too much into, binging. I might have the TV on in the background to where I'm, doing something on my computer. I just don't enjoy not being busy, not doing something productive. I feel like even if it's not productive for myself, like I want to be accomplishing something. I talked to somebody from another country. I can't remember where it was, but they talked about how it's just more relaxed. It's more laid back there. You still do your stuff you have to do, but it's not like you always have to be doing something. I think it's a very um maybe American. I don't know where at what point it ends, but I think it's definitely a very American thing to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, and I think it's different for everyone because, and it's just knowing yourself and knowing your mind, your body, and your work life and everything, and having that balance. But there's times where I want to be go 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 working. I'm like in the zone of getting shit done, and maybe it's all day too, like morning to night. But the thing is that I get energy from doing those things, so I want to be doing that. So sometimes when people are like, you need to slow down, you need to take time for yourself, yes, I know that. But also, if I'm feeling like, it's kind of like working out, like if you feel like you could go a little bit harder and you want to, then I mean, it's also knowing your body there too, but then do it. Like, you don't, I don't know, I'm all for more so knowing more about you and doing what's right for you, not what other people are telling you you should do or how you should act or what, you know what I'm saying? So some days I'm like, I just want to go get all this shit done and I'm in the zone. And whereas other days I'm like, okay, maybe I really just need to take a step back and go for a walk today, not do anything, So for me, that's been important in my life, for my work life, and also with podcasting and having that balance. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think the balance is a big thing to think about. The whether you're kind of I think people are tend to be tilted one way or the other a lot of times. Too far in one direction is over the long term probably not the best idea. So,
yeah,
in that, even when I try to make myself do those things, go on a walk or on vacation, I still, it's still challenging. It's something that
it
you definitely
is,
have to actively do.
it is for sure challenging. Yeah. But I think it's also for me knowing that I do need time to recharge and slow down so that I can be better and more effective, more efficient to, like, after I have that recharging time.
Yeah.
So it's a practice for sure.
Yeah. And it's weird because I feel like a lot of people try to do that by doing things like by working out. Even, a lot of people say that working out is like a not really relaxing, but it kind of clears your mind or it takes some stress away. Um, or going for a walk or hiking or going fishing, those things, it's so rare. I feel like for us to not do something, even when we want to not do something,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a very weird thing.
Yeah, and there's a powerful thing that can happen when we just be, we just are, like, just it's hard to do, that's for sure, but when we can really tune into the present of, like, maybe we're just sitting here and we look at outside and you notice things that maybe you didn't notice before because you're go 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 all the time. But that's also a piece of, I think, health and fitness and just living our lives. It's important to do that. And you also asked a good question, like in our Instagram message, about like how I balance that. I don't know if it was how you balance mentally or something. I'm not really sure, but something with along those lines. And I think also going to having an outlet, whether it's a therapist. So I go to therapy every other week, and I think that's really important too. And the meditative part, and then really challenging yourself to slow down. Everyone needs that, I think.
Yeah. And it's weird to me because it's not like there's a specific thing. It's not like there's specific tasks because everybody's different. For one person, going to the gym could be like the most stressful thing, or going for a hike could be super stressful and they don't enjoy it. But for another person, it's like the most, relaxing or, calming, de-stressing thing that there is. It's just weird that everybody in that term is just so different.
Yes, yes. I think that you need to find what works best for you, because, like you said, it's not what works best for you might not work for someone else. And I had someone tell me one time that she was learning that, like, she needed to really tune into what did work for her, because what other people were saying worked for them just wasn't working for her. So she was, I think that's important too, just knowing what you like, what helps you to calm down and come back to the present and to have fun with it too, or just whatever you like. You just have to know that for yourself. Don't be listening to you can experiment, get ideas from people, try things out, and then ask yourself, did this work? Do I like it? And then go from there.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of trying out, like you said, just especially, when you're younger and you start to get different stress in your life. I think a lot of times the stress before comes from school or it comes from friends, trying to fit in, from growing up. But when you get a little older, your stressors change. You don't have that same, maybe those same outlets that you had before, whether that be hanging out or with friends, or that be sports, that be just sometimes even being at school can be a little bit of a social event to where it takes some of that stress away for people. But just trying to figure out what works whenever you grow up a little bit and your life changes, you have more responsibility, you have to figure out what really works and what fits with your schedule, and go from
Yeah,
there.
it's okay if it changes too. It doesn't have to. I used to think that it, like, I would get mad. So I used to meditate every morning. I would go for a walk, meditate. I had this routine, and if it changed, I was upset or frustrated. Like, why do I not do this anymore? Why do I not like it anymore? But then it's okay. You can give yourself permission that it can change. It can be something completely different. Now I meditate at nighttime every night before I go to bed. That's just what works for me currently in my life. So it's okay if it changes.
Yeah, and it's weird because if you look back a few years ago for myself, when I worked out like almost every day, and that was part of my routine, that was part of what I like to do, and just comparing it to now where I don't have that same necessarily freedom or free time or whatever it is to do that, you just adjust. And like you said, it does change. But if you look back and you try to jump a couple years ahead and envision what your life might be like, I think a lot of times just maybe going with the flow, that could be part of not worrying about it, not stressing about it, because things will change. But I think we are so good at adapting a lot of times that and in the moment, we won't be able to understand how we're going to adapt. But if we just accept the fact that, you know, yeah, my life's going to be different in a few years, and I'm not sure how I'm going to accomplish this, or how I'm going to get to the gym, or how I'm going to meditate, or how I'm going to have my own personal time. I think if we just accept that, you know, that will still be there. It may look different, but it'll be there.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think that's important.
So, kind of going in reverse, backing up into in the time machine, if you will. You know, how did you originally get into the world of fitness and health and stuff like that?
So I was in sports at a very young age. My mom put me in dance, and then my dad put us in soccer, basketball, and they really allowed us to try things and to go with what we liked. But I've been in sports throughout middle school, high school, not in college, but because of being in sports, I loved that lifestyle of always being active. I found that I loved running, I loved working out, I loved lifting weights. I loved learning more about working out and learning about nutrition and how these foods made me feel. Like it's like I loved feeling good when I ate foods that were more nutritious for my body and my mind. So the positive benefits of it. So from that, I always just had this interest in health and fitness for myself. And then when I got to college, I got introduced to some online coaching, so network marketing companies, and I did Beachbody for a little bit. So being an online coach that way. And I loved the helping people aspect, like being able to help someone in their health and fitness. I realized I had the chance to change someone's life or to inspire someone, or just, and I had people thanking me for that, things that I put out there, whether it was a quote or my own experience of a workout or just, I don't know. And I had really positive feedback from that. So that's kind of what started my career path in health and fitness, was that. And then I got certified to teach PIO and Insanity, which is a Beachbody workout. And then I found Anytime Fitness and got hired there, taught it there for a little bit, and then was just a part-time trainer. And I've been there ever since. So now I work full-time there. But so it kind of all like led up to Anytime Fitness there.
Gotcha. So something interesting I thought you said, which I think I made a post on it a while back, was like when you eat certain foods, it makes you feel good. Is that like a physical, like you physically felt better when you ate better foods, or was it more like mental and stuff like that?
Both physically and mentally, emotionally. For myself, I'm not restrictive anymore. I used to be in the past. I have kind of a past of just different eating disorders and things I'm still overcoming, but I always could feel how it felt when I ate fruit and vegetables and whole foods. Physically, I felt better, more energy. I didn't feel blah, um, more patient, calm, happier. My attitude, my mood, my confidence. I'll say that's nutrition and fitness, but definitely nutrition. Just it was physical and mental. You know, when I eat processed foods like cookies, brownies, chips, yeah, I still eat those every now and then, but I fully know that they're not going to make me feel the way that I want to feel. Versus if I have healthier options that make me feel good, I have more energy, I can do more. So that's a huge thing for me, is like it's both mental and physical.
Yeah. And for me, like, I don't know, maybe if I just never experienced it. I know like growing up, I definitely ate my fair share of junk food and everything like that. But for me, it's so like psychological though, when it comes to eating healthier foods. It's almost weird to me, even like you sometimes think that other people are weird, but I feel like um I kind of weird myself out when I think about like when I eat a food that's healthy for me, I just get like a boost in, like, it's hard to explain really. It's like you're thinking about what that food's actually doing for you instead of like just eating it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Instead of just that food going to your stomach and you know whatever else, it's like I think, you know, this food, man, this food's going into making me live a little bit longer, making you know, whatever, like all the functionality. I just think about that every time I eat something healthy.
That's so true, because I think about that, but also the opposite. Like I have connected in my brain because people ask me, how do you eat healthy all the time or most of the time? And number one, like mental health, I feel better, but I've like connected in my brain when I eat this packaged cookie or cake or whatever, anything, I've connected that it's like chemicals mixed together, and how it's like what's going on in my body when I eat that. I know it's not good. It's destroying my gut health, my brain health. It's just not doing what it's just, I don't know. It's like when I see those ingredients, the dyes, artificial flavorings, I've just connected in my brain the negative benefits of it. So it's easier for me to say no to those foods and choose something that's maybe a little bit healthier. And yeah, like it's hard to explain, but I
Yeah.
think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it really is just hard to explain because and I don't know at what point I began to think like that, but it is just, and I don't know if it's like a class you need to take or like a experience you need to have or what it is, but it's definitely just like a switch almost. You just either you think like that or you don't. It's not like, for me it's just kind of, and I don't really even have the thing you talk about where it's like if I eat something bad, like if I eat something bad, if I do it so long, I'll start to think about it. I'll start to be like, oh, well, I should probably eat something good now. But it's not even like in the reverse for me. It's only one way, and I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, but that's just kind of the way it is for me.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. And I think maybe for some people, it just kind of takes a lot of different experiences, maybe different life experiences, maybe a family history of health problems, or they realize that they can't play with their kids or grandkids, or it's just, I don't know. And I don't know what it was like one day for me, it just clicked. There wasn't really anything specific. I just remember kind of like, I was like, oh, this is like how it's happening for me. But I think, yeah, I think it's kind of just different for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's having more of a deeper reasoning for why you're wanting to eat those foods.
Yeah. Do you ever feel that way in the moment about like an exercise? Like if you're doing a specific exercise, you're like, oh, this is going to be good because, does that ever happen?
No, not really, actually. I mean, I guess kind of, but I see it as like a whole. So, like fitness and exercise, I kind of have connected the benefits to my everyday life and my future life and how I'll feel after the workout. I guess there's kind of, because there's specific exercises, more functional training where I connect that's helping me in my everyday life. So, like if you've ever done a farmer's carry where you're holding two dumbbells, I tell my clients, okay, I want you to imagine that you're carrying two heavy grocery bags because I can relate it to their everyday life. And then I cue them like what to do, but it's more of that carryover effect into everyday life and then seeing it as a whole and how it's benefiting me.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way on that because, I don't get that same and like boost from just doing one rep of whatever. It's more like in the moment, I'm just thinking either, this is a good time or I hate this, but I'm not really connecting it to anything, either positive or negative. It's just more of like, oh, it's another rep of this exercise. And, which is, you know, like you said, it's more of a long-term thing with your fitness than it is, diet really. I guess they're both long-term, but I think diet, you can really see benefits with, with, with the smallest of changes, which,
Yes.
I guess it's true with fitness too, but I think if you're in, it's a weird because if you're in the gym, you're going to be working out, but if you're in the kitchen, you could be eating a cookie or you could be eating, a piece of fruit. So I think you're in that environment. So maybe your head's already there anyway. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. And I think that like if I were to be eating, if I ate a cookie or, something, I, I'll, how I feel is a negative way right then and there versus if I have a piece of fruit or a vegetable and I feel positive right then and there. In the gym, it's kind of the same, but kind of not, because sometimes if I'm doing like burpees or running, actually I love to run, but really I love it all. But when I'm doing something that's challenging in the gym, maybe I don't feel it right then and there until after I leave a little bit later. I always feel better after I work out though, most of the time, like more energy, happier, better mood, more productive. And I would say for most people, they feel like they will have more energy for their day as well. But I feel like you're right. Like when we eat foods that are more nutrient dense than others, like we will feel it right then and there.
Yeah.
versus working out. Some people, they won't feel it right then and there. It might take a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe if that's like because eating, eating is less, there's definitely an aspect to it, but I think eating is less programmed than working out as far as like really seeing results. I think you definitely maybe see increased results if you're eating a specific on like a specific thing for you, um but I think if you maintain eating good things and you eat around that same diet your whole life, then it's like it's beneficial and you don't necessarily have to do too much. But with a workout program, it's like this exercise or this workout's building on the next one, which is building on the next one, which is building on the next one. So it's like a cumulative effect almost to where you have to like meet your goal by doing, 4 weeks worth of something to see, or maybe 12 weeks worth of something to see, a little bit of something. I don't know. It's just,
Mhm.
it's definitely,
Yeah.
I've never thought about it in those terms before though.
Yeah. And you said something I want to point out, like to anyone listening, because you said diet, and a lot of times people will. I hate it because instantly people will think that you're on a specific diet. Like when I say diet, like diet is just the way that we eat, but because of the industry and everything, supplements, like nutrition companies, cleanses, diets, specific diets, it has this negative connotation to it. So for anyone listening, your diet is just the way that you're eating. And it's when someone tells me, oh, can you eat that in your diet? Or like, what diet are you on? It's just hard because, like, as a coach and a trainer, it's just the way that you eat a diet. And I want to encourage people to not be restrictive and go on a specific diet, like whatever that is. I think that you can try different things and again, see what works, what doesn't work. But in the past, when I've been super restrictive, it's like, that's the only thing I think about is if I'm being restrictive with this type of food, then that's what I'm going to constantly want and constantly be thinking about. And then it's that dieter's mentality, and it's not it's not sustainable long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely the diet more as the broad term of, what you eat, not just, the keto or the paleo or the whatever diet. So yeah, definitely. And I feel like almost when somebody asks me, like, what diet am I on? I'm like, I'm on the Daniel diet because it's just like,
Yeah.
it's so specific to me. It's like no one else could or would even want to follow the diet that I'm on. It's because it just wouldn't work for them. I'm on my own diet plan and that changes over time. But, I've eaten the same breakfast since October. I don't think anybody would want to be on that diet because they'd be sick of it. But for me, it's like I actually look forward to eating breakfast every morning still. So
And everyone's different. Every person's body is different with how they process food. And it really does have to be specific to you.
yeah. And I think part of it too is like I feel like I don't need to tell other people what diet to be on, and it's hard for me to actually tell them, hey, this is what you should eat, other than just like general recommendations, which it's just is good to know. But because for me, it almost goes back to like that thing we talked about at the beginning, to where it just like it clicks. It's like, oh, that made me feel good when I ate that, and to me, it's just like I have that sense. It's like a sixth sense of knowing that if it feels good when I eat it, then it's healthy for me. Like, not necessarily the taste or whatever, but if it feels good, like if it brings me, right then and there, if it brings me that bit of kind of fulfillment, then I know like, okay, that was, that's a good thing to do. But and that's something that I can't really help necessarily, to a specific or to a certain point I can, but specifically you can't really help somebody with that.
Yeah, and it's just like being a scientist of your own body and of every all the foods out there and things. Is just doing your research, trying things, seeing what you like, what you don't like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good.
Yep. It's all about, that's the same thing too with fitness as well. You just have to figure out what you like, because a lot of people like to lift weights, but a lot of people, don't get any enjoyment out of that. So there's no sense in, spending the rest of your life thinking that that's what you should be doing because somebody said that it has to be done. Figure out what works for you. And there's too many options nowadays with, you know, I mean, you can literally go to a gym that specializes in almost anything physical. So figure out what you like.
Yeah, I think that it's important to find what you like doing, but also like if someone is wanting, for example, lose body fat, gain muscle, tone, lifting weights is going to be one of the most effective, I think, things that someone can do. Maybe they don't like it in the moment or right away, but also it's teaching someone and helping someone realize and connect to the benefit of what's going to happen when they lift weights and they're more tone. And like it's kind of like skipping past like, okay, I don't like doing this thing. I never would want to force someone to do something. Like if someone doesn't like running, if someone doesn't, if someone doesn't like these things, then I don't want to force them to do it, but I also want to encourage them to think about what is the benefit of doing that thing. And the example you used was lifting weights, and I'm a huge advocate for lifting weights for anyone and everyone, especially females, and it's helping them connect what is gonna be like what's gonna change because of them lifting weights, and helping them to eventually like lifting weights because of how it makes them feel, or because, and maybe it's just, maybe they're just doing it wrong and that's why they don't like it. Or so I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but I think that it's important to help them with, well, like the form aspect, making sure they do it right, and making sure we can keep it fun, do it a way that maybe does bring them joy. But also I think that joy will come after the fact, like maybe a couple weeks in, a couple months in, like maybe it's not gonna be right away. Maybe they're not gonna like it right away, but maybe they've never tried it in the past and they've not seen the benefits of it.
Yeah. And when I say not like it, it's definitely something I think you, for your own sake, you should be doing, because it's not, it's like, some people say I'd rather eat a piece of cake than that healthy thing. Well, you don't always necessarily need to do what you want in that moment. Um, and so I definitely agree with that aspect of it. Kind of more like specific to my point was like, if you don't like to do 4 sets of 10, figure out what you like to do. Some people like CrossFit, some people like the bodybuilding, some people like powerlifting, some
Yeah,
people like, maybe just getting some kettlebells or dumbbells or whatever and going outside and doing it. Maybe it's just they don't want to be indoors. Maybe it's they want to, be more kind of active with it, with their weights, with how they get their weight training in. Or it's kind of like people say they don't like running, but they've never ran outside, or they've only tried running on a treadmill, which a lot of people don't like. But there's so many different ways to do it,
sure.
to do everything really. So I think, to that point, I think yes, definitely doing some sort of weight training, because I also agree. I think that's one of those things that you can accomplish literally almost any goal with weights. And just adjusting those sets and reps, adjusting that rest time, adjusting all those variables can accomplish pretty much any goal. So I'm definitely also a huge advocate of anybody and everybody, lifting weights, even if it's just once a week, just doing something to where you're putting stress on your body in that way. Because like to
Yeah.
your point, a lot of people just don't understand the benefits of it.
Yeah. And I think that's how you can make fitness fun too. Like working out fun is trying out all of, like you said, there's so many different types of working out and things, like trying a bunch of different things out, changing it up, and just maybe try something new once a month or once a week or whatever it is, and just like finding out what you do like and what you don't like, but then also it keeps it different and fun, and you're not doing the same thing over and over again. So that's important too. Like I love going to different yoga studios and trying out things, or maybe doing other circuit style workout places. Yeah, just try like keeping it fun by changing it up.
Yeah. And it's weird because you talked about how like maybe women are at first kind of turned off to the idea of lifting weights. Um, I think it's so weird to now see how that's kind of shifting into more women actually enjoying it. and how cardio has kind of become like, everybody wants to tell you how much they hate cardio, but it's weird how things just kind of go in waves because, I think we're almost to the point where there's not enough focus on still doing something cardio related, which, you can actually do with weights, but I think there still should be maybe an emphasis on not throwing it out the window completely.
Yeah, for sure. I actually just did an episode on this weights versus cardio, and I talk about how like it depends on the person, depends on your goal. I think that cardio, there is a time and a place for it. And I think like if you're a runner, like you got to run, but also the main thing is that a lot of people, at least that who I come in contact with, they think that cardio is the way to fat loss and to lose weight. And short term, maybe it is, yes, but long term, no. And there's different types of cardio. Like you said, you could do cardio with weights, and it's I think it both have benefits, cardio and weights, but um, I think it's just being able to like have maybe not a balance with it, but knowing where your goal is, and really I think the weights is more important, but you don't have to get rid of cardio completely. I think that there's a time and place for it. I think there's benefit to it, but it's implementing cardio the right way and not it being the way for you to reach your goals, because ultimately you're just going to get stuck.
Yeah, and there's, like you said, it does need to be some sort of, ratio there, and it doesn't have to be 50-50, doesn't have to be, 90-10 or whatever. It just depends on what you want to achieve, but I think there's also just a lot of benefits to, and running is just one thing, and maybe running isn't everybody's favorite thing, but there's just so many different, swimming, hiking, biking, a lot of things are really good as far as just like even recovering from a lifting session, going and doing something like that's low impact and kind of recovering in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, even just doing walking for some people like that can be a form of cardio too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You kind of touched on and talked a little bit about your, what you do at Anytime Fitness, and you talked also a little bit about coming to coming here actually to Kentucky. Um, what specifically do you see as kind of like a goal for you in that position,
Like at Anytime Fitness,
or what maybe it leads into?
yeah, I think I don't really know exactly. Like I don't know exactly what it'll look like. I know that what I'm learning now with what I'm doing at Anytime Fitness is going to help me for whatever I do in the future. I think I'm always going to want to help people in some way, like whether it's at a gym, training people. Like I always kind of want that physical connection, I think, in person, but also another vision I have for myself is having my own business, doing maybe not a physical like gym business, or but more so on the online space. Like I love to create different videos. I would love to create workout videos and courses for people that entails mental health and the physical health, like everything. That's kind of like a vision for myself. It's not specific because I'm just not exactly sure or haven't, I guess, like nailed it down or anything yet. But I think one thing is for sure, and that's what I'm learning at Anytime Fitness. That's going to help me in whatever it is that I do. So I don't like to say I sell, because I do sell. Our training and stuff, but it's just helping people navigate what the best plan is for them. And so that's going to help me too. Communication skills, talking to people, how to cue people. So yeah, I don't know. I think specifically at Anytime Fitness, I am I am able to, if I wanted to, go to another Anytime Fitness somewhere else, and anywhere. So that like that's nice knowing that I have that flexibility. Like there's tons of Anytime Fitnesses. So if I wanted to move somewhere and maybe there's an opening, or I wanted to whatever go somewhere else, I think I can do that. I don't see myself going into like owning an Anytime Fitness or going into the corporate of Anytime Fitness. That's in Minnesota, I believe. But yeah, it's It's a good question. I don't really know exactly, but I have
Yeah,
an idea.
I think a lot of people kind of, I don't know, maybe if like quarantine, people just started thinking more about the digital and the virtual platforms more. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of understand how to utilize those and how it can actually be effective for people. And things like Zoom can still, it can really actually be a good connection place. And even though you're not physically there with them, there's still those benefits to some type of connection with somebody, and you can still form a relationship with a client,
Yeah,
regardless of where they are.
for sure. And I think for me, I just see myself and I want to help have the ability to help people, not just in my own community, not just in the gym I work at. I just see myself helping more people outside of South Dakota and different communities and different, yeah, and I think that the online space is a great place to do that because it really is the place to do that. We have the opportunity to do that because of social media, anything online, Zoom. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty powerful tool that we have if you're willing to see it as that.
Yeah, and it really is a powerful tool, but it's definitely also become maybe a little dangerous out there for the person who just doesn't know much and they're looking to get into fitness, because there's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
stuff out there. There's so many people out there who maybe either don't have good intentions or have good intentions but don't have the right information. And people, it's really it's one of the craziest things, because I think it's overlooked how much of an impact somebody can have as a personal trainer or somebody who works with your diet, because it's your body, it's your life. And it's almost scary how there are people out there who, like I said, either don't have the best intentions for you, or might have good intentions but don't know, and how they can affect your life so drastically.
I agree 100%. And I think it's so important to invest into a trainer, especially if you have never worked out before. And let's say you're wanting to work out in the gym with weights and you've never done that before. It is so important to get the training and the coaching that is going to be effective for you. And I mean, there's free resources like YouTube and Pinterest, like you can get workouts. But are you going to actually do them? Are you going to do it properly? Is it effective programming? And I like to relate it to a house with my clients and anyone that I meet for the first time. If I know that it's their first time in the gym, they've never lifted weights before, it's just like a house. We need to build a solid platform, a solid base, a solid ground zero, and then build our way up so we can have that strong base. Like you don't build a house starting from the third or fourth level. We have to start from the ground. Same is true for our bodies. We can't start at a third and fourth level of fitness until we get that ground zero down. Fitness is not just about getting a hard workout in, burning as many calories as you can. It's not just about sweating. Like for me, that's important. Form is number one. And it's also just going to help in your everyday life. And people who, I mean, I'm not trying to talk negatively about them because I used to be that person. I used to just want to get a hard workout in, kick my butt in the gym, and I would do that to my clients. But then I slowly started to learn the importance of form and slowing it down, because you're going to lower the risk of injury, number one. Number two, it's going to be more effective in what you're wanting to do long term, and it's going to be more sustainable. And it's so important to get that form down first, and then eventually like going off and doing things on your own.
Yeah, and I think to me that's what it's all about, is the long term and the sustainability aspect. Your body, it's in such a great position when you're working out to become better, but it's also in that position that could be dangerous, to where you're limiting yourself and you're possibly injuring yourself. And that good opportunity you had to become, grow your potential for your future self, just can be squandered with one bad movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you continue to do that movement wrong over and over again, you're going to set yourself up for some failure.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those areas where it's and I think it maybe kind of gets a bad rap too for that reason. People have maybe a negative connotation of lifting weights because they think it might be dangerous, or it might be, oh, I don't want to get hurt, and it's almost okay to come in with a mindset of that a little bit if you're willing to come into it, if you're willing to try it out and say, okay, I want to do it the right way. So, don't let it scare you off, but also don't take that potential risk lightly either.
Yeah. And then also, if you get the help, like if you invest in a trainer, you have that one on one connection, they can show you, point to where you're supposed to be feeling it. And maybe if you're doing it on your own, you're just not going to be feeling it. So therefore, it's not going to be effective. Or maybe you're feeling it in the wrong places, So it's even for myself, I'm a trainer, but I know that I would benefit if I had a trainer for myself, a coach who has a coach. And there's just so many aspects to training and lifting and working out that people miss because of the fact that they've never had that. They've never invested in a trainer or had that help. And I see all the time people who just want to try and do it on their own. They lose accountability, they lose motivation, they don't see it working, and then they quit. And they get discouraged and then they quit. So,
Yeah, it's interesting. You said a coach with a coach, and I think that's so important too, because regardless of who you are, as a person, you never have all the answers. And if you think about, just a professional athlete, they could coach you, they could coach somebody at a college level and high school level, but they have coaches themselves that have even more knowledge and even more experience. So, don't always assume, hey, I'm certified now, or, I even if you're not certified, hey, I did my research, now I'm good to go. Take advantage of other people, take advantage of what they know and what they can offer you as well.
yes, for sure. I think it's important to always have an open mind and always have the desire to learn. And like I feel like I'm a good coach and I know a lot, but I also know that I don't know a lot as well. Like I'm always wanting to learn different things.
Yeah, and there's so much information out there that's good, and to learn it, and to just to keep going. And that's a little bit about, what this podcast is about, is sharing that information. But like I said, don't be afraid to get a personal trainer. They're not there to judge you. They're not there to, make you feel uncomfortable or weird about not knowing what you're doing. It's completely, the opposite. They're there for your protection. They're there to make you feel more comfortable, and just to help that, be a smoother transition into a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, it's definitely one of, like, you're investing into your life, not just right then and there, but in the future too. So I know a lot of people will think, oh, it's just too expensive, or I just don't have the money for it. But in my experience, there's always, if you look at the other things that you're spending your money on, is it helping you to feel the way that you want to feel? Is it helping you bring you closer to, happiness, your goals? And a lot of things are just wants, not needs. And I talk about that with people too. Like we really nail down habits and things that they're investing their money in, but it's not taking them closer to their goals. So it's really just challenging yourself to take a good hard look at that, what you're spending your money on, and reinvesting that into something that is going to help you and how you want to feel, which a personal trainer can do that. And it's kind of like food too. For me, healthy food that makes me feel good, it's a non-negotiable. It's an investment for myself. I think people maybe have budgets and things like that, but there's always a way to make it work. And it's important to do it now. Otherwise you're going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah. And that's kind of, along the lines of barriers that people think that they have. And some barriers are real, but oftentimes, like you said, you can work around it, and you can, time and money, I think, are the two biggest barriers, or excuses. Maybe sometimes I think a lot of times, a lot of times I heard this the other day. It's an excuse wearing a reason as a cape or something, like, it's just it's hidden as a barrier, or it's presenting itself as a barrier, but really it's something that you could work on, figure out, you know just using time, like, are you utilizing your time, or are you actually getting home from work, eating eating dinner, cooking dinner, eating dinner, and then sitting on the couch for the rest of the night, to where you could, even if you can't afford, maybe money is a real thing for you. Maybe you can't afford to go to the gym, but you can afford to get down on the floor and do some push-ups, sit-ups, go for a walk. There's always a way to do it.
Yeah. And something that, because you said time and money, so I'll share this because someone can maybe do this on their own. I do this with everyone that I meet before. So when they get a membership, sit down, talk about their goals. And we call this the happiness formula. And it's FE equals doing equals happiness. So FE are the fitness expectations we have, which is coming to the gym, expecting we're going to get stronger, lose weight, all of that. And if that aligns with what we do every day, that will take us closer to our happiness. And happiness is their goals. And doing what we do every day, and however we invest these two things, will take us closer to that or further from. And it's what you said, time and money. So if someone can really sit down, write time, and write down the things that you're doing that's not taking you closer to your goals. The two main things I can tell you right now is social media and TV, Netflix, Hulu, things like that. And add up how many hours per day are you doing that? And then add it up for a week. What does that look like in a week? And for most people, it's like 40 hours a week that they're spending on social media and TV. And it's okay, but ask yourself, are you willing to sacrifice some of that to do things that's going to help you get you closer to your goals? And then the second thing is the money. And I always straight up tell people, I'm not trying to tell you how to spend your money or make you have, like, I don't care about your budget. I care about your budget, but the money aspect is the habits that you are investing in. So we talk about going out to eat, smoking, drinking, coffee, pop, energy drinks, snacks, groceries. Like, we talk about all these things that are not making them feel the way that they want to feel. And I will add that up. I'll ask them how much they spend, about, get a week, and then I make it into a month and really write down. For a lot of times, a lot of people, it's like $400 per month that they're investing in things, not making them feel the way that they want to feel. And most of the time, people appreciate that because they're like, holy shit, I did not realize I was spending that much money doing that. And then that's a game changer. So if someone can do that for themselves, that's a really good way to nail down where you invest in your money. It's not making you feel the way that you want to feel, and how can you spend your time and money differently to help you and reaching your goals.
Yeah, that's awesome I've never thought about it in those terms. It's definitely something that kind of goes through my mind, I guess, maybe unconsciously, those kind of factors. But yeah, it is crazy. And when you do sit down and talk about that, especially with somebody else, it's almost like you're doing so much more than just talking about their fitness and their health. It really is talking about their life. And in a way, it almost makes me feel a little bit like, am I even qualified to be like this deep into somebody's, it's not quite therapy, but it almost is in a way, because you're sitting there talking about making somebody happy. You're sitting there talking about what makes you unhappy.
Yeah. And I think people appreciate that we go through that, because it kind of shows that I don't just that I really care about how, and I do, like, I care about how they're spending their time and money. So it's easy for me to talk about it because it's a huge factor in if they're going to be reaching the way that they want to feel or not. Like, and people don't think about it, and it's the little things add up.
You can always do your best to try to explain it to somebody, but you never know what that word or that trigger is going to be for somebody to make it really make sense to them.
Yeah, and it can be challenging to help to try and inspire someone to change, because the pain of what they could feel is so far out in the future that it just is irrelevant right now. It doesn't matter until they have something where it's painful right now, then they will make a change. It can be hard sometimes when someone doesn't see it for themselves. Like if they're just not caring about changing their ways, or they just, yeah, if they just like don't care, then it's hard for me. And then it's like I didn't do my job, I didn't do a good enough job helping them see and feel what could happen if they continue these habits. And I mean, they just have to feel it for themselves, but that can be hard, like as a fitness coach and trainer too, like if they just don't see it. And yeah, you're right, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just like black and white, like fitness, working out, nutrition. There's so many factors to it.
Do you see, I know you do, it's not do you, but how much do you see of people coming in and getting all fired up about it and then not following through for more than a few days?
Yeah, so this is when this is tough too, because the reason that they are fired up and they came in is because it's an emotional decision. We make decisions based off of emotion. So they came in for some reason, and I want to meet with them right away to see, okay, what is that reason? Why are you here? What triggered you to come get this membership? Why are you fired up? And it does happen pretty often when someone comes in and they're super motivated, they want to do it. And this is my time where it's like I need to show this person that the value that this training program and that I can bring to them, because without it, it's not without, I mean, everyone, I believe that everyone can do it on their own. And I tell them that, like, I don't not believe in you, but you're more likely to not be successful, or to at least have a lot more detours by not investing in that trainer or that program and not getting that accountability. They slowly will lose that motivation because they're not seeing results. They don't have accountability, and there's so much information out there. You like don't know what to do, and then you get discouraged and you stop. So yeah, I mean, I see it. There's a lot of times where people will come in on their own consistently, and that's awesome to see. But there's a lot of times too when they come in, they're fired up, they're motivated, and then eventually they stop coming and they stop doing it. And like I said, mostly I feel like it's because they're not seeing results and they don't have that accountability. We're a lot more likely to give up on ourselves than when there's someone else involved or a group of people involved. And that sucks to see too. Like I try and pull them back in and we meet, reestablish goals and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating. It's like you're here for a reason. You just gotta remember that reason and continue. Like just don't ever quit. Just that's the only way to truly fail, is to just quit and stop completely. And one of the things that I try and talk to people about is the days where you feel like you don't, I mean, the days where you have horrible workout, maybe you eat not as good, maybe you're going the opposite direction, you gained weight, like whatever it is, those days are inevitable. But if you can on the front end right away allow those days, know that they're going to come, then when it does happen, you're a lot less likely to just give up and get discouraged. You already know that it's happening, so you can recognize, okay, this is happening. It was a shitty workout. I didn't eat as good. Maybe I'm gaining weight, but okay, what do I have to do now to get back on track? What can I do right now to like pull myself back to it? But those days, even I have those days too. Even as fitness people, like we have days where we don't eat as good. We have horrible workouts, gain body fat, lose body fat. We have the good and bad. They're all there. But you gotta expect the bad days because they're inevitable. If you can just get yourself to do something, because by being energetic, like doing something that's going to give you energy, it's going to give you more and more energy the more you do it. So just get yourself, maybe it's going for a walk, or maybe it is going to the gym. And then with no expectation of, hey, I'm going to get this hour-long workout in. Maybe you just say, okay, I'm going to go for 10 minutes. That's it. It's smaller than an hour. It doesn't seem as daunting, but you go and you're like, okay, I'm just going to go walk on the treadmill for a little bit. So you walk on the treadmill, then you kind of get more motivation, more energy. You're like, okay, I'm just going to lift a little bit of weights, like lightweight, just going to do it. And then you get a little bit more energy, more motivation. So by doing that thing, you're going to get more energy and more motivation. Most of the time, that is the case, I would say. But it's like just kind of, you just got to start doing the small steps first.
Yeah, I think that's important to do on a daily basis, as well as like a setting those short-term goals, making them uh, achievable, maybe instead of just only setting a yearly goal, setting like each month or maybe even each week, having something that you hit to make you feel accomplished, make you feel, proud of what you're doing and build those positive emotions towards doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to do that so that way you can set yourself up for success, and it's celebrating those small wins that seem insignificant, but they really are, because it feels good when you set a small goal, any goal, and you hit it. It feels good. It like builds that momentum. So why not start small and build little momentum along the way versus the big goals and it's just like takes forever. Our minds can make or break us, and I truly believe it's like the first step in really anything in life, whether it's health, fitness, finances, relationships. Like, you got to work up here. You got to just like we have to consciously work to go to the gym and choose healthier options food wise, we have to also work consciously up here, and it's a practice. Like, every single day you just got to work at it. If someone can really also connect how it's going to help them in their day-to-day life, that can help too. Maybe it's just the simple fact of getting up and down off the floor, like playing with a kid or carrying groceries or hiking. Like, so many times people will tell me they want so badly to do this thing. Maybe it's hiking, maybe it's just walking outside, playing with their child, throwing the football. They want to do those things, but energetically and physically, they just can't. And so for me, that's something that's another reason why I kind of do all of this, is because I want to be able to do those things for myself. But people are now at a point where they can't do those things, but they want to. So if you can also keep in mind maybe one or two things that it's going to help in your everyday life, and keep that in mind, work towards that, that can also help during the times where you're not motivated to work out or eat healthy, things like that.
Right. And kind of along those lines, just kind of one of my pet peeves, or something that maybe kind of scares me to think about, is people that aren't too much really older than me saying, there's tons of, I guess, variations of it, but either saying I can't do that, saying I'm too old for that, saying, that's what happens when you get my age, saying all these different things to where, you might be 30, 35, 40, even like in your 50s and 60s. I'm still thinking that I'm going to be, living the way that I do, that I want to be very capable of doing anything I can do right now. And when I look at people who say that, it's frightening and it's kind of disheartening.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel the same way. And like, I work out for myself and all that, so I can prevent that too. And but then it also is like, I don't know. I feel for them, because they've gotten to a point where they just can't do those things, and it is fearful too. Like, I never want to get to that place, and I'm thankful that I'm not at that place right now. And I think that age is really just a number. I really hate when people use it as an excuse. Like, yes, I know there are certain things that as we age, things happen, but we use it as a crutch and an excuse for why we can't do certain things. And I think that's a problem. There's a lot of mental blocks. And I think too, people are maybe at a place where they feel like they're going to get judged walking into a gym, or they are so embarrassed by how things have gotten. But really, I would encourage that person, just don't let that hold you back, because fear of judgment, it's common, but people most of the time are only worrying about themselves. And if you let that hold you back with anything in life, you're going to be missing out on a lot of opportunities and a healthier lifestyle. So it's like, yeah, and again, that's just a mental block that people have, but you just got to work through it.
Yeah. And I don't think it matters like the age or your gender or even where you're starting from. I think people are so afraid to walk into a gym sometimes. And I think even as you get older, people would look at you and say, man, even if you're not starting in a great position, I think a lot of people are looking at them in the gym saying, good for them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that they're doing this. I hope that I'm still, there walking into a gym when I'm their age. I think it's more positivity but people have this definitely this negative thoughts of what's going in through other people's heads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think I find that that's more common if it's someone who's new to exercise, new to lifting, new to working out. And then again, that's where it's important to just get the help that can show you, so then you can be more confident coming in over and over. So
Yep.
You might feel awkward at first. You might suck at whatever it is you're doing. You might feel awkward, but like you just gotta keep. The only way to get past that is just keep doing it and practicing it, and you'll get past it. But be willing to suck at first. Be willing to feel awkward at first, so that way you can get better at it and do it properly.
I think some things we just take for granted, like things that how we're feeling, and because we're in this world of fitness. But yeah, really appreciate your time today and coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking me. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I'm down to do it again sometime, but yeah.
If you want to let people know kind of where they can find you and where they can find your podcast, that'd be good.
Yeah, thanks. So my podcast is called Flow with the Grow, and it's on really any platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere. You can find me on Instagram at Sophia_Dawn41. That's SOPHIA_DAWN41. I would love to connect. And those are really the only two. I'm on Facebook too, but the Instagram is really the place that I like to connect with people on there.